Let's start by asking you about the hostile takeover bid for potash. Do you think BHP's potential offer is going to go through? Will BHP succeed?
No, I don't think so. I think, as you said before, it's too low. I think that maybe a white knight will come into play. I think it should be potentially higher to get shareholders interested. But if you allow me, I'd like to try to go into the mind of Mr. Kloppers, the CEO of BHP. And why is he making this bid? Why is he interested in a fertilizing company? Well, our global population is going to go up from 6.5 to 9.5 billion people in the coming 40 years. Global warming is causing extreme weather patterns and export bans of grains, and publicly he has stated that he is against the use of what we call the first generation biofuels, which means energy made out of soya, out of corn and rapeseed. And that will induce a huge demand for second generation biofuels like camelina and jatropha.
Right, so what you're saying is that it's a good idea to invest in fertilizer companies right now, right?
I think any investor should have 20% of its portfolio in commodities which are growing, not in gold, but in growing companies.
Roland, good to see you again. Thanks for speaking to us. So I want to start by asking you about what we've been seeing in the commodity markets recently. Tell me more about what's fueling the drive for commodities right now and if it's going to continue.
Well, I think it will continue because our world population is going from 6.6 billion people to 9 billion people. And as it was mentioned before, especially agriculture is becoming a very interesting asset class to invest in. We see that the agricultural land worldwide is not increasing. China has taken measures only to produce food on agricultural land, not energy. And so we think that indeed everybody should have something in their portfolio which grows, like grains, like cocoa, like sugar and like rubber.
So you are bullish on agricultural commodities, right?
Very, very,
is that,
very,
and
very
is that
bullish.
mainly because of a scarcity of land that you talk about? What are the other factors?
Also, we have an enormous climate change, which is really the reason why we have more extremes, we have more droughts, more inundations. So we need to convert the classic agriculture into a high-tech industry, and that is what we are doing. And not only are the agricultural land parcels interesting, but also the marginal lands. And that is what we are doing. We have secured vast amounts of plantations for so-called second generation biofuels. And that's another aspect of agriculture where the demand is exponentially rising. And I have some news for you because yesterday China introduced a new law. The present market for diesel is 2.6 billion tons, and yesterday China introduced a new law saying that the big Chinese oil companies must blend their diesel with 5% BD5, biodiesel 5%. And that's a whole new market which is now already
so
125
Roland, it sounds fascinating.
Tons.
It's a whole new market, as you say. So how can investors capitalize on this?
Well, that's the reason why we have created the world's full biofuel fund, which is a private equity fund to invest in parcels of land to grow these new second generation biofuels like camelina and jatropha.
So Roland, we've just had Russia announce a 12-month extension on its grain export ban. How much disruption could this cause? How much of a spike could we see in the price of wheat?
Well, we already have had distortions, of course, in the price of wheat. And it's not the first time, because 2 years ago we had the same thing happening when countries like India were, imposing a ban on rice, for instance. And I think in the future, with these extreme climate changes, droughts and inundations, we will have more examples. Luckily, today the bins are full of wheat. We have enough wheat. So I don't expect.
So what does this mean, Roland? Could we see a repeat of the 2007-2008 food crisis?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reason why we should not produce biofuels on agricultural land, okay? We should produce food for you and me and our animals. But we have to produce 50% more food within the coming 30 years to feed everybody.